There's a British theatre director whose work I really admire. His name is Peter Brook. And one of the things that he says is, I can take any empty space, call it a stage. If somebody walks across it and someone else is watching, then that's all we need to engage an act of theatre. So, does that relationship remind you of something? The actor-audience? Isn't that very similar to teacher and a classroom of students? To me, those two processes are very, very similar. And I think we can use some of the actor's tools to help us engage students in active learning. We can create a very dynamic way of teaching in the classroom if we think about some of the basic tools that actors would use. So the first question we're going to consider is, what is good communication? Well, good communication when you're teaching in the classroom is really the same as in any conversation. Good communication happens when you speak clearly, listen carefully, and really care about what you're telling somebody about. You know, if you care about a subject, that comes across, and the people who hear you are going to catch that from you. So let's look at some of the tools of the actor. First, how to stand. You want to stand open and square on to your audience so that you can face them directly. Because if you turn away or if you fold your arms, it's a kind of barrier that really gets in the way, gets between you and your students and interrupts that direct communication. So, how to stand is relaxed and open, square onto your audience, not folding your arms as a barrier, and also being aware, don't have any nervous habits that will come through to your audience as that you are nervous. So be aware if you might, without even thinking about it, do something like play with your hair or be scratching your arm or stand awkwardly. These are things that will get in the way. You want that relaxed, open stance and direct, open communication with your students. Let's think about another actor's tool, movement. Movement is really useful because with it you can literally move around the classroom to engage with all of the students who are listening to you. So don't be afraid of movement. Use it. Of course, it doesn't work quite as well in video as it does in the classroom, but the point is to really move around. That way you can have good eye contact with each of your students. Make sure you can see them, you can assess whether they're really engaged and taking in what you're talking about. Another kind of movement is gesture. Gestures can be used just to emphasize a point. It just adds interest, it adds emphasis to something that you might be saying. Be aware with gestures, like with any other kind of movement, that there can be too much of a good thing. You don't want to be waving your arms around. That will just be distracting to your students. But an occasional gesture can really emphasize a point. Another kind of movement to consider is facial expression, because if you keep a very still, bland, quiet face, it's actually harder for people to hear and understand what you're saying. So natural facial expressions will help keep interest for students and also make it clearer what you're saying. So don't forget to use facial expression as another form of making sure that everything is clear. A very important actor's tool is the voice. Vary the volume and speed of your voice. This variety will really help to engage your audience by keeping them interested. If you speak in a monotone, it's really hard for them to take it in and they'll probably all fall asleep, right? So pauses, variety, and difference in expression are your vocal tools to engage your audience. Think about good actors and storytellers, how they keep you on the edge of your seat, wondering what's going to happen next. A lot of that is by the expression in their voice. So don't forget about using that variety to keep what you're saying dynamic and engaging for students. Let's think about costumes. Consider your closet as a wardrobe, and you can make costume choices. Think about the kind of character that you want to present to your students. Who do you want them to see up here? And choose clothing that fits with that. Choose a costume that really demonstrates that kind of character to your students. The other thing to consider, of course, in costume choices is, can you move in it? I mean, 6-inch heels and a really cool, tight outfit are going to look great down at the club. However, they're probably going to distract you in the classroom, so make sure that you can move easily and comfortably. You're not going to be distracted by your clothing, and that it portrays the kind of character that you want to take into the classroom with you. So there's a written checklist up online of all of these points, so that will be a reminder for you of what we've just gone through in this video.